So the work was making sure that it was going to come out on time, and here I am. I'm standing and making it happen. So here we go.
Jeremy Renner, the actor who played Hawkeye across multiple Marvel Cinematic Universe films and his own Disney Plus series, has reportedly signed a massive new deal with DC Studios. And according to multiple sources, his departure from Marvel wasn't quiet or diplomatic. Renner allegedly told people close to him that Disney can kiss his ass after years of frustration with how his character was handled, how he was compensated, and how the studio treated him during his recovery from his near-fatal snowplow accident in 2023. This isn't just an actor moving between franchises for a better opportunity. This is a fed-up MCU veteran walking away from the studio that made him famous and signing with their biggest competitor while apparently burning bridges on his way out. This is absolutely massive for multiple reasons. First, Renner was one of the original 6 Avengers, a core member of the team that built the MCU into the most successful franchise in film history. His defection to DC represents a major loss for Marvel and a significant victory for DC as they rebuild their cinematic universe under James Gunn and Peter Safran. Second, the reported hostility of Renner's exit, the alleged kiss my ass sentiment, and the bitterness about his Marvel experience suggests serious problems with how Disney treats even their most important talent. Third, this continues a pattern of MCU actors becoming disillusioned with Marvel and leaving when their contracts allow, raising questions about whether the studio is creating an environment that can retain top talent. Let's break down what allegedly happened to make Renner so angry at Disney, what his new DC deal reportedly includes, why this defection is so damaging to Marvel, and what this reveals about the current state of both major superhero franchises. According to sources close to Renner, his frustration with Marvel and Disney had been building for years before finally reaching a breaking point. The issues fall into several categories: creative dissatisfaction with how Hawkeye was handled, financial disputes over compensation, and what Renner perceived as Disney's inadequate support during his medical crisis and recovery. Creatively, Renner has apparently felt for years that Hawkeye was underutilized and undervalued within the MCU. Despite being one of the original Avengers, Clint Barton never got a solo film, was sidelined in major storylines, and was often treated as the least important member of the team. Renner reportedly pushed for years for a Hawkeye solo film that would give the character the depth and development that other Avengers received. But Marvel consistently declined, apparently viewing Hawkeye as a supporting character rather than someone who could carry his own movie. The Hawkeye Disney Plus series that premiered in 2021 was supposed to address some of this frustration by finally giving Renner's character a substantial showcase. But according to insiders, the series ended up being more about introducing Kate Bishop as the new Hawkeye and positioning her to replace Clint than about honoring Renner's version of the character. Renner reportedly felt that he was being used to launch a replacement rather than being given a genuine final chapter for his Hawkeye, and that the series was his exit from the MCU dressed up as a celebration. The financial issues apparently stem from Marvel's compensation structure for Disney Plus series versus feature films. According to reports, Renner made substantially less money for the Hawkeye series than he would have for an Avengers film appearance, despite the series requiring months of production work. He allegedly argued that the streaming shows should be compensated comparably to films, since they require similar time commitments and generate significant value for Disney Plus. But Disney refused to adjust their compensation model. Renner also reportedly felt that his salary for Avengers films didn't reflect his importance to the franchise. While Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and Chris Hemsworth negotiated massive paydays including significant back-end participation, Renner's deals were apparently more modest, reflecting Marvel's view that Hawkeye was a supporting character, rather than a lead. This disparity became increasingly frustrating as Renner watched co-stars who joined the MCU later negotiate better deals than his original contract allowed. But the breaking point, according to sources, came after Renner's devastating snowplow accident on New Year's Day 2023. Renner was crushed by a 7-ton snowplow while trying to help a family member, sustaining blunt chest trauma, orthopedic injuries, and more than 30 broken bones. The injuries were life-threatening, required multiple surgeries, and left Renner facing a long and difficult recovery process. According to people close to Renner, Disney's response to his medical crisis was inadequate and revealed how little the studio actually valued him as a person versus as a commodity. While Disney issued public statements of support and concern, Renner allegedly felt that behind the scenes, the studio was primarily worried about how his injuries would affect production schedules and whether they needed to replace him in upcoming projects rather than focusing on his well-being and recovery. Renner apparently expected that Disney would offer substantial financial support during his recovery, given that he'd spent over a decade helping build their most valuable franchise. But according to sources, Disney provided minimal assistance beyond what was contractually required, and there were allegedly discussions about whether Renner's injuries would prevent him from fulfilling existing obligations and what that might mean for his contract. The contrast between how Disney treated Renner during his medical crisis versus how they'd publicly celebrated him as an Avenger apparently crystallized all his accumulated frustrations into anger and determination to leave Marvel as soon as possible. The message he reportedly received from Disney was clear. He was valuable when he could work, but when he needed support, the studio's concern was primarily about protecting their own interests rather than about his well-being. According to industry insiders, DC Studios approached Renner while he was still recovering from his accident, offering him a role in their rebooted DC universe under James Gunn and Peter Safran's leadership. The specifics of the role haven't been officially announced, but sources claim Renner has signed a multi-film deal to play a major character in the new DCU, with the potential for his character to appear across multiple projects, similar to how Nick Fury or other connective tissue characters function in the MCU. The financial terms of the deal are reportedly substantial. Sources claim Renner is being paid significantly more than he ever made for Marvel projects, with a deal structure that includes back-end participation and bonuses tied to box office performance and franchise expansion. DC apparently offered Renner the kind of compensation package that reflects his value as a proven franchise actor with a built-in fan base, the exact kind of deal that Marvel refused to give him. More importantly for Renner, DC apparently guaranteed him creative input on his character's development and storylines, something Marvel never offered. Gunn and Safran reportedly pitched Renner on being a collaborative partner in building this new DC universe, rather than just an actor following orders, emphasizing that they value his experience and insights from over a decade in superhero franchises. DC also apparently structured the deal to accommodate Renner's continued physical recovery from his accident, including lighter shooting schedules, stunt doubles for any physically demanding sequences, and flexibility around his medical appointments and physical therapy. This consideration for his health and well-being stands in stark contrast to how Disney allegedly approached his recovery, viewing it primarily as an inconvenience to production planning. The fact that DC was willing to meet all these conditions to sign Renner demonstrates how valuable they view him, not just as an actor, but as a statement signing showing that top Marvel talent is willing to defect to DC when treated with respect and compensated fairly. When sources close to Renner claim he said Disney can kiss his ass, the sentiment allegedly comes from years of accumulated resentment finally finding expression. Renner apparently feels that he gave Disney and Marvel over a decade of his career, helped build the most successful franchise in film history, promoted their projects tirelessly, and was compensated poorly relative to his contribution while being creatively sidelined, and then essentially abandoned when he needed support during his medical crisis. The "kiss my ass" attitude reportedly extends beyond just financial grievances to fundamental disrespect. Renner allegedly feels that Marvel never valued Hawkeye as a character or him as an actor, that he was always treated as replaceable and expendable despite being an original Avenger, and that the studio's behavior during his recovery confirmed that their loyalty to talent only extends as far as immediate utility. According to people who've spoken with Renner, he's done being diplomatic about his Marvel experience. He's apparently tired of pretending he's grateful for opportunities that didn't adequately compensate him, tired of defending creative choices that sidelined his character, and tired of maintaining the polite fiction that everything was great when the reality was frustration and disappointment. This blunt honesty is rare in Hollywood, where actors typically maintain positive relationships with studios even after leaving projects, partly because burning bridges can limit future opportunities, and partly because there's an industry-wide expectation of discretion about behind-the-scenes frustrations. But Renner apparently no longer cares about maintaining those niceties with Disney. He's financially secure, he has a new deal with DC that he's excited about, and he's apparently decided that honesty about his Marvel experience is more valuable than protecting Disney's feelings or his potential future relationship with them. Renner's defection to DC is damaging to Marvel on multiple levels. First, it's a public relations disaster. One of the original Avengers leaving the MCU for DC while reportedly bad-mouthing Disney on his way out validates criticisms about how Marvel treats talent and creates questions about whether other actors are similarly frustrated. If Hawkeye is this angry, what about the actors still working with Marvel? Are they genuinely happy or just more diplomatic about their frustrations? Second, it removes a character and actor who still had potential value to the MCU. While Hawkeye may not have been the most popular Avenger, Renner had a fan base and the character had narrative potential that Marvel can no longer access. The Hawkeye Disney Plus series positioned Kate Bishop to continue the legacy, but losing Renner means losing the mentorship dynamic and the connection to the original Avengers era. Third, and most significantly, Renner's move to DC helps a competitor who's trying to rebuild credibility after years of struggling to match Marvel's success. DC Studios under Gunn and Safran is attempting to create a cohesive shared universe that can compete with the MCU, and signing a proven MCU actor sends a message that DC is now an attractive destination for top superhero talent. If DC can poach original Avengers, they can potentially attract other frustrated Marvel actors or compete for new talent that might have defaulted to Marvel in the past. The defection also feeds into a broader narrative about the MCU's decline post-Endgame. Multiple actors have left or expressed frustration, box office returns have been inconsistent, and fan enthusiasm has waned. Renner's exit is another data point suggesting that the MCU's golden era is over and that the franchise is struggling to maintain the talent relationships and creative momentum that made it dominant. Renner's situation isn't unique. Multiple MCU actors have expressed frustration or left the franchise in recent years, though few have done so as dramatically or with as much reported animosity. Scarlett Johansson sued Disney over Black Widow's release strategy before settling. Jonathan Majors was fired after legal issues, completely disrupting Marvel's plans. Multiple actors have quietly declined to return for new projects when their contracts expired. The pattern suggests systemic issues with how Marvel and Disney treat talent, issues around compensation, creative input, workload, and support during personal or professional challenges. When even successful, well-compensated actors from a massively profitable franchise are frustrated enough to leave, it indicates problems beyond just individual personality conflicts or specific disputes. Marvel's response to Renner's reported defection has been minimal public comment, which is typical for Disney's handling of talent departures. But according to industry sources, there's frustration within Marvel Studios that Renner has been so publicly negative about his experience and concern that his defection could encourage other actors to leave or to publicly air their own grievances. There are also reports that Marvel is scrambling to ensure other original Avengers actors don't follow Renner's example, potentially offering improved deals or creative opportunities to actors like Mark Ruffalo or Chris Hemsworth who are still involved with the MCU. The fear is that Renner's defection could trigger a cascade of departures if other actors realize they have leverage and options. For DC Studios, Renner's signing is a major victory that helps establish credibility for their rebooted universe. James Gunn has been emphatic that the new DCU will be different from both the failed DCEU and from the MCU, and signing a disgruntled Marvel star helps make that case. It demonstrates that DC is willing to treat talent better than Marvel does, that they're offering creative collaboration rather than just hiring actors to execute their vision, and that they're building something that top talent wants to be part of. Gunn has also been smart about publicly praising Renner and expressing excitement about working with him, creating positive buzz around the signing and making Renner feel valued in ways he apparently didn't at Marvel. This smart talent management creates goodwill that could help DC attract other frustrated Marvel actors or compete for new talent. Jeremy Renner's alleged "Disney can kiss my sentiment and his defection to DC represents more than just one actor changing studios. It's a statement about how Marvel and Disney have treated the talent that built their most valuable franchise, about the limits of actor patience with creative frustration and inadequate compensation, and about DC's potential to compete by offering what Marvel apparently won't: respect, fair pay, creative input, and genuine support during difficult times. Whether Renner's DC projects succeed or fail remains to be seen, but the symbolic value of his defection is already significant. He's shown that original Avengers are willing to walk away from Marvel and work for competitors if treated poorly enough. He's validated criticisms about Disney's talent management and compensation practices. He's given DC credibility as a destination that can attract top superhero actors, and he's demonstrated that superhero actors don't have to maintain diplomatic silence about franchise frustrations if they're willing to burn bridges in favor of honesty. Renner spent over a decade helping build the MCU into the most successful franchise in film history. If Disney's response to that contribution was treating him as expendable, underpaying him relative to his value, and providing minimal support during his life-threatening medical crisis, then maybe Disney really can kiss his ass. And maybe other actors will decide the same thing, following Renner to DC or to other opportunities where talent is valued beyond just immediate utility. That's the real threat Marvel faces from Renner's defection. Not just losing one actor, but potentially triggering a broader exodus of talent fed up with how the most successful franchise in Hollywood actually treats the people who made that success possible.